Hi, this is Scott Schubert. Sometimes I get very enthused and excited about showing people the breakthroughs and insights that I've experienced in trading because I would like everyone to know how to develop this skill, especially if you intend to be in the trading business, trading any financial market. Why is it that this skill seems to elude almost the entire industry of traders? And yet, I believe that anyone can learn to develop this skill in a relatively short period of time. Let me show you what I mean. If you could look at a chart and see a type of a road map that tells you when to turn, when to get into a trade, and how long to stay in a trade, and when to get out of a trade. If there was some kind of a sign that could tell you, okay, this is the time to get in, and then after you get in, there's a signal that says, stay in, don't get out, just relax, don't worry. And then when you get to the very end of a trend, there was some kind of a signal that said, okay, here's the end of a trend right here. If traders were able to do that, life and business would be so much easier, and so much of this struggle and frustration that so many people experience would not be nearly the problem that it is. You see, the market is made up of a series of turning points on any time frame. Turning points, and in between the turning points there are trends and corrections. So if, for instance, you could know that this point right here is a point to enter a trade, and then during all of this time you could know that it was okay to stay in a trade. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the number of waves in a trend. And then if you could know that this point right here was the time to get out of a trade, all of that struggle and frustration and confusion that people experience during all of this time, if you were able to get in right at the beginning and stay in and then get out right at the end, your trading business would be so much different than what most people are experiencing, because they, first of all, they don't know to get in a trade when it's the beginning of a trend. During a trend, they don't know whether it's going to turn, they don't know when to get out, and at the end of the trend they don't know that that's the end of the trend. But if there was some way that you could see that the entire time, if there's a way that you could know it and see it, then you would have an amazing power to harvest wealth from any financial market. And by the way, this works on the Forex market, works in stock market, commodities, any financial market. This is the trading method that will extract the profit, and extract what I believe is the maximum amount of profit that people can get by trading. Now, it doesn't matter what time frame you happen to be looking at or what time frame you think that you prefer to trade on. What this is about seeing the turning points on all time frames and using that information to enter and exit trades. For instance, this point right here was a turning point for the beginning of a trend on one time frame, and this happens to be the 4-hour time frame, and the trend that began there really was a trend on approximately the 1-hour time frame, and that's where it can be viewed as a trend. Now, how could you know for sure that that would be a point to get into a trade, and that you wouldn't get into a trade at other points in time? Well, here I've just zoomed in, and this is the Aussie versus the US dollar. And just this week, we made a decision to enter a trade on this pair right at about this point in time and price. We didn't make a decision to enter at other times, but we made a decision to enter at that point in time. Then we made a decision to enter again at approximately this point in time and price. And then we decided to not get out, to not exit the trade until right at about this point in time and price. Right at this point in time right in here. At what price? In the price range of that candle right there. Then, for some reason, we chose to, on Friday, at the end of the week, to enter a trade and go long and not exit it and leave it running through the weekend. And here's where we are today, still in that trade. Now, it's really hard for traders to grasp what it is I'm talking about unless you've actually opened your charts day after day and struggled and tried to figure out when to get into a trade and when to not get into a trade, when to get out of a trade. Because if you've ever gone through that process for months or years, then you know, you've already experienced that. That's a very rare and unusual, extraordinary skill to be able to know that those are the points to get in and out. How could you know that when you're looking at all of this seeming chaos on the charts? How would you know that this is a point to get in a trade and other points are not a point to get into a trade, and then this is a point to get out of a trade and other points are not a point to get out of the trade, and they happen to be the very points where the market is turning? How could you know that? Well, you know, it's really not as difficult as you might think. It is a skill that requires some development. I can't show you exactly how to do that just by looking at one chart or one time frame and not showing you the tools that we're using to identify those points. But if you could see how to do that, wouldn't you agree that that would totally transform your trading business for the rest of your life, and that you could at that point be a full-time professional trader if you could identify those points and do it with a fair degree of accuracy and consistency? I'm very passionate about the trading business, and I love to show people how to do this because this really is something to be excited about, and I'd love to see you be able to develop this skill also. If you're interested in finding out more about how to do this, just go to forextradingseminar.com.